I would say that it's a little bit more like softer, like more like of a medium tone, if that's even like a wine description.
Oh, medium tone. I love that.
Tone.
Yeah.
This is going to be my new ways of describing wine. Medium tone, light tone, dark tone.
Okay, I love it.
But
just like a tan.
She's new. She doesn't know
No, not
doing.
at all.
All right, so I'm super excited about this week's episode of Rooted in Reading because oftentimes we have people coming to the Reading area asking, do you have local wineries that, make their own wine? And to your surprise, we have a handful of great wineries here in Reading. And over the next couple of months, we're gonna be exploring the wineries here. But today, we're starting with Matson Vineyards. All right, so the understanding of Matson Winery could not be understood better from our good friend, Jenny, who is currently the owner with her husband, Paul. And there's so much to dive in, from the history of it to the grapes, the sourcing, everything that you guys do here that makes it such a staple in our community. So let's start with kind of understanding the history of Matson, vineyards.
Amazing. These vines that we're walking through right now were planted 43 years ago. Wow. The first bonded winery in Shasta County. Wow. And 40 years ago from this year, from 2024, the first wine was produced. So it takes a couple of years for the grapes to grow enough. Yeah. The first wine that was planted here, the first wine grapes, were Zinfandel.
Okay.
And so reds grow just beautifully in Reading. This like heat, it's a very, Spanish or Southern French style of wine. And from there, it was really just a pet project for Oscar Matson and his wife Stella Matson. When they built the house and started the winery, they just wanted to have some wine grapes and make some wine for themselves and their friends. Yeah. And it's turned into so much more.
Yeah, it's kind of like, I think anytime somebody thinks of Reading, they're like, do you actually have like wineries? Do you have wine tasting? And it's so cool. Like I always tell people, it's so cool that you actually have something here in Reading where you have like the vineyards, you actually have like from start to finish, something that somebody can come here and experience it, where it's not just like, a wine bar or something and it's not local and sourced.
Yeah.
So here, like how many acres of grapes do you guys have, and kind of tell us a little bit more, because I know you said that you also have a second location further up north.
We do. So we grow on 2.5 acres here in Reading, and then another 5 acres. We have larger properties than that, but that's how much is planted vine. And the two mixtures help us make what I think is the best wine in Northern California at the most affordable prices, because we're able to utilize a lot of the amazing assets in this area. Great people, amazing warm climates. We don't have a ton of mold or mildew issues. And so we grow these big, bold red grapes in Reading. And then in our second property in Inwood, close to Shingletown, we grow white grapes and a larger variety of red grapes as well.
And if you're not familiar with our area, Shingletown is about 30 minutes, more cooler. So it's cooler temperatures. It's a little bit more of like our snow area, but I'm sure you're not in that kind of higher
We're not quite in the snow, but what makes it perfect for us is that we're able to pick grapes here for a month, and then right when we're finished, we move up into the cooler climate. So within 30 minutes, we have this beautiful escape from Reading, and also this perfect kind of complement of the different terroir, which is what we call it for the grapes.
Fun.
When we thought about creating the Shingletown property, we thought of a more commercial winery. So a lot of we have rows that are very common varietals. We planted a lot of them. We thought ahead to what production would look like. The fun thing about this Reading property, where our tasting room is that actually, and you can see it right here, we have really different kinds of grapes growing very close to one another. So this wasn't thought out like a commercial vineyard. It was thought out like almost like a grape museum.
Nice.
And so you have these different kinds of grapes that are here, really small clusters. All of these, as I said earlier, are red wine grapes. So you have them all growing really close together. And then you have other grapes just in one row over. You can see the size of that grape. It's almost 3 times the size. Yeah. The clusters are a little bit more loose. They look a little bit more like what you would get in a table grape in the grocery store. And you'll see every single row in this block here in particular is almost a different kind of varietal. And that makes it really fun when we do an explanation, when somebody's drinking a bottle of wine, and we can look out the window and say, see, this wine came from that spot right out there.
And is there any, I will say you are very, knowledgeable in this, so I will say I'm not as knowledgeable. Is there any strategy to having such difference of varieties versus, like you were saying, the commercial, there's rows and rows of the same thing? Is it just allow for better blends or just kind of more options?
I love that question. So yes, we can actually have really unique wines that you couldn't get in the grocery store. Everything that's grown here is something very different than what you would see inside a grocery store. But that wasn't actually originally the strategy. The strategy was, I wonder if people would like this wine. I'm not sure. Let's try another row because maybe they like that one. Exactly.
Like an A, B, C, D.
And so the mixture of the different wines was really kind of just experimenting, both on what he would like, Oscar, the original winemaker, and also what he thought his friends and family would like.
I love it.
And so it's turned out well in both respects, but that was the original plan.
Okay. Well, I say this is all great, but let's start drinking and actually try this.
Come on. Okay, so this is the Chardonnay Viognier. Perfect. If you want to, we can go outside and I'll tell you a little bit about the wine. All right.
You lead the way.
Let's go. Awesome. So, like I said, inside it was so loud and awesome in there. On Friday nights, our club members come and bring appetizers to share. So every club member gets 20% off of all of our bottles of wine. They get 3 bottles of wine every quarter, and then they also get a free glass or a free tasting every time they come to the winery. This is one of our club members' favorites, so that's why I pulled this one. Chardonnay Viognier. All of this is estate grapes, so this is only our grapes. We grow 100% of them, and this is probably our first or second most popular wine that we make every year. So
a hot
we're just gonna drink this one. There's no tasting going on. We're just gonna pour. Yeah,
this is just
like not a small pour. This is just let's go.
Let's hydrate ourselves.
Exactly. So we keep these pretty chilled. People have different opinions about how cold they want their white wines. I like mine a little warmer normally because when they warm up, you start to get those really fruity notes. So this is just this is for a hot day. A cold bottle of this, and that's all you need in the world. So there you go.
All right.
Now I think we should go do a tasting so you can kind of see the differences between different kinds of wines.
Hey, this is already great, so let's keep going. All right, so we obviously are a huge fan of the Chardonnay, especially.
Hey, I thought you were a slow sipper.
I am a slow sipper, but we can sip fast.
It's so good, right?
So moving on to your red, so if somebody's not really like a Chardonnay person, it looks like we have some great options here. So walk me through.
We have such a wide variety of wines. So I just picked 3 of them that represent a few of the different genres we have. So we have kind of a lighter red. This is our Stellar Michele.
Okay.
This one we actually drink chilled.
Okay.
So it's perfect for summer if you love red wine, but also are a million degrees.
We aren't a million degrees at all right now.
We're only 1/2 a million degrees. This is a kind of traditional wine. This is a Shiraz. So we have Shiraz and Zinfandel and Tempranillo, right? These Cabernet Sauvignon, the types that are typical that you would expect, and they're just phenomenal, big, bold red wines. And then we have our premium red blends, and this is actually kind of where the wine started here, and then we've moved into this larger segmentation so we can fit everybody's palate. If you want it for lunch or dinner, if you want it for both, if you want it with fish.
No,
I'm sure there is something for breakfast. We need to make a sparkling wine in the future, actually. That's on the list. That's on the list. But anyhow, so I can just kind of talk you through. I'll give you a pour of each of them. You'll see a little bit of a color difference, but what I think is so special about this place, one of the reasons that we love it, why we wanted to be involved, is that the wines are unbelievable. And there's most wineries of our size make 3 to 4 wines. So this is the Stellar Michele. You'll find it's light, it's refreshing. We have this with appetizers, so things that are like light pastas, fishes.
And it's impressive like how much you know about like wines, like what is your background?
Yeah. So
While I'm sipping through this, you're gonna tell me your history.
Absolutely. What do you think, by the way? That's the first red wine.
It's really light. It's not like too overly bold. I'm gonna act like I'm a wine connoisseur and
tell me what you see. Being a wine connoisseur is just being a drinker of wine. That's all it requires.
There's legs.
Like there are legs. Yeah, you can see it's a pretty light color, right? Not a super dark,
my dad
like
would
burgundy.
Be so impressed with me right now.
So impressed, I'm sure. We have to show him all of that you're learning. Then it has pretty light legs, so you can see that they're like the legs are, you know, how much it would stick on the side and what it would fall down. But there's something there. That means there's pretty decent sugar content.
Yeah, no, it's really, really good. It's super light. I could totally see it like with like an appetizer or something that, or even chilled, like you said.
The Cellar Michele is a really unusual kind of wine because the winemaker, who's the founder's son, so Oscar Matson and then Roger Matson, and he's remained our winemaker. So even though we've taken over the business operation, he's still our winemaker, built his experience from all kinds of different places and brought all of that back. And I asked him at one point, I said, Roger, is winemaking a science or an art? And he said, both. You cannot separate the two from each other.
Totally.
So what is super cool about these wines, you asked a little bit about my background with wine. To be honest, I'm just a fantastic wine drinker.
That's amazing. You sound very educated. Well, I'm a fantastic winemaker, and you're like, what do you taste? I'm like, grapes. So a lot of what I know is not from education, it's from experience. And that's what I love about wine. And my husband is South African. He comes from wine country. A lot of he grew up around wine and winemaking. But really for both of us, we love to eat, we love wine, and we love the combination of the two together. So we've done a lot of our travel to New Zealand and wine country for our first anniversary, Argentina wine country, South African wine country, French wine country, and the combination of not just the wine, but the experience of food and the tours and the countryside and a bike tour through the wine and a spa with wine and everything is part of what we really love about it. So I hope you can just feel our passion for wine. 100%.
But that's where it comes from. You would have
convinced me that you went to like wine school if that was even a thing, so.
Well, I love that you say that. We're actually going to start a wine school here in the fall where people can come and learn about each type of wine. Yes. And we'll put it with food. We'll kind of explain how everything is made. As we're going through the making, we're going to do that. So stay tuned. This is our second wine. Are you done with that one?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, great.
I've been ready for you to pour.
Well done.
So much for us.
Let's go. Let's stop talking and keep drinking. Yeah. So this is, you'll notice immediately a little bit of a color difference.
Darker.
In this wine. Yeah, exactly. So this is the Shiraz or Shiraz, depending on where you come from and what you believe is proper.
You can say whatever, potato. It's wine.
And so you don't have to know anything about wine, but does it taste different? That's the first question.
Yeah, I would say that it's a little bit more like softer, like more like of a medium tone, if that's even like a wine description.
Oh, medium tone. I love that.
Tone.
Yeah.
This is going to be my new ways of describing wine. Medium tone, light tone, dark tone.
Okay, I love it.
But
just like a tan.
She's new. She doesn't know
No, not at all.
But no. I would definitely say it's like, it's just like a more of like a little bit of bolder taste, but not too bold.
I agree.
Cheese.
So this one of the reasons that you are tasting that is that this is a single grape.
Okay.
So when you have only one type of grape, you just don't get that wide range of flavors, the same way that you're going to probably taste in our blends, because in the blend you're tasting 3 or 4 different flavors coming out at different parts of the wine. So what you're describing as medium tone is that,
so you like
I know, pretty good, is a very uniform, consistent wine. Yep. It doesn't change a lot in your mouth, and therefore the reason people like these is it's very predictable, it behaves itself, it doesn't do anything wild. This one, the Tango, is a 2020 wine. So something really special about Matson is that a lot of our red wines we release very late. So a lot of Napa Valley winemakers will release a wine for $95 or $200 the year it's made. So it's only oaked for 6 months, 7 months, 8 months. Ours are oaked for 2, 3, 4 years sometimes, which means that they have this really rich undertone.
Is this one of your more popular ones?
This is one of our specialty wines that we reserve for the wine club usually. So we'll release it once, and then after that, it's only for wine club members to enjoy. And because they're limited, we blend things, and we only have maybe 1 barrel or 2 barrels of it, which means we can only make a few hundred bottles. And we have a raving fan wine club that just devours all of our wine, and so
my parents are one of them.
That's right. Yes, we love seeing them around here. So this one has Tannat and then Tempranillo. The Tempranillo is one of my husband's favorite grapes that we grow.
Well, I think for how much, obviously, production you guys do, I know this is just only a handful selection of like some of your favorites, or what like you said, what was open. There's a lot of favorites. I think it'd be really cool to see like the production here on site, because like I said, some areas here in Redding, it's like, how is everything done? Some is off-site, some is on-site. And so it's kind of cool to see it all done in one place.
Absolutely.
And I know as a member, or even if you take a tour guide, if you're visiting here, you can kind of like see the whole thing, the whole show from start to finish, which is really cool. So I say, let's go to the cellar.
Let's do it.
Yeah. All right, so we spent a lot of time with the vineyard and where all the magic sort of starts, but really where the magic happens is down in the cellar, where that is your specialty. And Paul, I know that you're a huge part of Matson Vineyards, so share a little bit about your guys' process, so people that are coming to Redding kind of know that from start to finish, everything happens right here.
Sure. Well, like you said, you've already been in the vineyard, so you've seen the grapes are coming on nicely. And so soon, in about probably 2 months, so we'll start picking all of those. And we bring them all back down here to underneath the house where our cellar is, where all the magic happens. We'll crush them with a destemmer. So basically remove all the grapes, all the stems, crush them up a little bit. Then the grapes go into a wine press. So they get pressed down up to about 300 pounds of pressure to get all the juice out, and that gets pumped into tanks inside the cellar to then start the fermenting process.
That's awesome. And your expertise, I know Jenny's obviously just kind of learned it as you guys have gone, like tasting and kind of pairing things together. What's kind of your expertise with like winemaking?
I have very limited expertise in winemaking. This is all new for us, but learning very fast. I spent 1 season helping with crush and producing wine, but this will be our first season. Thankfully, we have the same winemaker that's staying on with us to help us through the whole process. So just a big learning curve, but having a lot of fun doing it. Yeah,
I mean, if you're drinking and you're learning and you're making it, I mean, it doesn't sound like a bad job to me. So
it's not a bad job.
And for a winemaker, like for club members, is there kind of like a time that people get involved and help out with the process, I'm sure, or?
A lot of people have come to help out, especially like during crush, which is an exciting time. You get to see all the grapes, you get to see them produced into the juice. People get to taste the juice. So it's just fun to see the different steps and stages for the wine. So
that when we get to this, it's like you actually were a part of maybe step 1 of just picking the grape. I think this is great, and you guys are such a huge part of our area of, like I've always said from the beginning with Jenny, it's like from start to finish, something local here in Redding. For somebody who's coming to our area, might not think, could we actually have this, but we actually do have it, and your guys are one of a handful of wineries here that actually make it happen. So as we're wrapping up this amazing day, thank you so much for just your expansive tour from all the grapes to the cellar to wine tasting. I mean, this has not been a bad interview, I will say. But kind of, you know, I know you guys are just recent owners. What would you say is your vision for the future?
We would love for our family, our kids to be involved, for this to really be a family-centric place that everyone in Redding knows. What we're always surprised by right now is that almost nobody knows that it's even here. So that's
like a hidden gem.
It's a hidden gem. It's delightful. But what's amazing about being here is that what we do is so special and it doesn't need to change. We just need more people to know about it. So a lot of what we will do in the future is expand on what we've done before. We've done a couple weddings a year. We'll do 10 to 20 a year. We've done a few events a year. We'll do a few every month. We will just accelerate a lot of what we've done. We'll expand our white wines. We'll have a sparkling wine, a rosé. Exactly. All of the lines that we'll do. We have a new tasting room planned, so we'll expand the space that's in there, and the home that's here that has been used largely by wine club members will become an Airbnb.
I love it. So it's just like bigger and better.
Bigger, more, and just please, if you haven't come to visit us yet, we would love to welcome you to Matson.
And I will say, like, if you are not from our area and coming to our area, we're so relaxed. Like, you could literally walk in, you don't need a reservation. You would just be like so glad.
It is delightful. You feel like you're walking back in time 40 years. It's so fun.
So thank you so much for all of your knowledge, all of your time, all of your passion. This has been really exciting. So if you are new to Redding or you're deciding to come here, and wine is one of the things that you have to check off the list, definitely stop by Matson's here in Redding. They serve, as I'm still drinking, some incredible wine and have so much to offer, from tours to member club incentives and whatnot. So
food trucks, music, Facebook, Instagram, and email are a great way to stay in touch with what we do.
So thanks so much for tuning into this week's episode of Rooted in Reading, and we will see you next week. Cheers.